Design or Die podcast, meant to connect creatives together and help you navigate the struggles and the triumphs of what it means to be an entrepreneur so that you and your business can thrive. I'm your host, Colette. Let's get creative.
Welcome. Thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. Today we're talking with Dani Fallon of Embracing Obsession, which is your art brand. So why don't you tell me about how that started?
So it's been quite a journey. Embracing Obsession itself started back in 2018. I had gone through a bunch of different life changes, including coming to terms with being diagnosed with OCD. And I had finally reached a point where I set an intention to paint 20 minutes a day, no matter what. And I did that for a solid month. I didn't hit every single day. I think I had about 25 paintings.
Wow.
And with that, I just decided to start an Instagram account and post them. And all of the paintings related to my journey through mental health at that point. And I started talking a little bit about that and what I had been through.
And I just saw your post too that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I think it's so fitting that we're speaking during this time.
I know it worked out.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you kind of developed an outlet for yourself. So your intentions were never like really to like create a business, right? Like you were kind of just doing this for your own sake, for like mental clarity and things like that. Is that kind of what started it?
Definitely. So I had been painting and like trying to sell work for probably about 2 or 3 years before that, but it wasn't abstract at all. I was painting landscapes at that point. And around 2017, I had gotten my first full-time job because I have a master's degree in art history. So I sort of got a job to basically fulfill that dream. And with that, I was still sort of missing something. So I just kind of like wanted to start painting again, and had been probably about 6 months or so. And I just sort of did it, not really with the intention of selling, but with the intention that I needed to do this regardless of where it went.
Yeah. And I love that you like set kind of a deadline for yourself and like, okay, I'm going to dedicate, even if it's like 20 minutes a day to that. I have a hard time following stuff like that, but I'm so glad it worked for you,
Consistency is so hard. And it's like, I go through bouts. Consistency is never 100%. And I struggle knowing that, but the more I tell myself that, the more I end up becoming consistent, if that even makes sense.
Yeah. What type of art are you doing now? Because you said you started with like more landscape. So now you're doing abstract. Like, talk about your process with that.
So with the landscapes, I'd always been drawn to the fact that landscapes have a variety of color. Mm-hmm. So I loved the fact that I could play with that. I could kind of make up my own colors. Almost all of the landscapes I created were from my imagination. I very rarely ever used a picture reference. I did that a couple of times if I either really liked the picture or someone asked me to. But mainly, I just liked the flexibility it gave me. I could really do whatever I wanted. And the more I painted landscapes, the more the landscape started going away further and further. And I wasn't necessarily making landscapes anymore at a certain point. When I got back into it, I just kind of was like, you know what, I'm just going to put my mind onto the canvas or the paper instead of trying to
make something, right?
Yeah. Or envision my mind through an object or a scenery or something like that.
That's so cool. Because when you're talking about that, I was kind of thinking how like impressionist painting is. It's just kind of like brush strokes that create kind of an imagery. And it's interesting how you're talking about it kind of just loosened up on its own and became this abstract thing. And I think that's why abstract art is really cool in general, because anyone can interpret it a different way based on how it speaks to them. And That's why I love it, because I used to not understand it in the beginning. Like I was tried so hard to make something like you were talking about, especially when I was in art school. It was so like structured, and we never got projects that were abstract at all. That's actually why I started doing the fluid art painting, because in school it was so structured and it was becoming stressful, and I was doing commissions for people, and I got to a point where I was like, okay, this is no longer fun or like relaxing for me. So mine was the same way. The fluid art was like, I didn't know where it was going. It just kind of had a mind of its own, but I like loved the process of it.
I love that. I love that you found your own like way to get to abstract art.
Yeah. Yeah. But it sounds like you did that too, kind of like it kind of just created its own thing, which is awesome. So tell me about like how you feel when you're creating. Like, when are you most at peace? Is this like relaxing for you, therapeutic? What does it mean for you?
I mean, it definitely depends on how the painting is going.
Yeah.
I've recently discovered that when I paint, when I'm creating, it's probably the most that I feel fully myself. Because when I give myself like really long painting sessions, like 2 hours at a time, which or artists are very lucky if they can do that.
Yeah.
I'm able to kind of silence my mind, which is very hard for me to do sometimes. I surround myself with music. I usually, even if it's just a quick painting session, I do try to light a candle. It's very relaxing. It's usually where I've energized myself, if that makes sense. I'm usually alone. I'm usually not painting with other people in the room, or I live with 2 roommates, so I'm usually in my own room painting, like on the floor or on an easel or whatnot. So it's really just time for myself.
That's really good. That's so important. I was not getting that from art for so long. So now I don't really paint or draw anymore, which is kind of crazy, but I've been having this like yearning for it, and I know I need to do it and just make something and not make it for anyone else, or like have a timeline or a structure, or like commission anything. It's like almost like when you have that in you, you like need to like feel like kind of like zoned out, at peace, recharge. Yeah, it's kind of like it just lets your mind flow, So
and
I feel that.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes things will come up, or like sometimes I'll start writing notes like while I'm painting, because like my mind will be free enough where I'll have a thought that I want to remember, I want to journal about, and it just kind of everything sort of starts free flowing. But when I started painting like 20 minutes a day, that's when if I didn't paint for like 3 or 5 days in a row, I was like, oh, like it became this like itch.
You felt it. Yeah. You felt the tension building.
Yeah, definitely. So I understand how you're feeling right now.
Yeah, it's been a while. And sometimes I tell people that and they're like, what? Like they just assume I'm doing art all of the time. But I'm like, but now that it's creativity and things are incorporated into my business, it's really hard to separate the two. That's when like drawing for me, painting is like hit or miss for me. Like if it's like watercolor, I'm good, but if I gotta set up a lot of stuff, I just won't do it, and it's not as fun for me. I hate the process of like cleaning it up. And so like for me, drawing is really where I feel like I get the most release from. When I was in school, like high school, I would finish all my work early and just draw, and it was just so relaxing. And high school is super stressful and
definitely
whatnot. Yeah. And some teachers would get like mad, right? They're like, you're not paying attention, even though I was done already. And then other teachers would be like encouraging, and they were like, oh cool, like what are you up to today? Like, which I love, because I think it's like everyone's different. So that was my way of like de-stressing.
Yeah, I'm glad teachers embrace that.
Yeah, some do. I mean, I went to public school, so not all of them do, but it was nice to have like that one teacher that was like encouraging about it,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did want to talk about your experience with OCD. You've talked about on your social media how art correlates that for you. You said it helps you like organize your thoughts. Like, I'd love to hear more about that.
Where do I start? So there's a lot of different facets of OCD I wasn't even aware of until I started researching about myself. So a lot of what happens is inside of my brain. I get a lot of intrusive thoughts. I ruminate a lot. I can't stop thinking about certain topics. So a lot of things that come up for me are health concerns. I'm usually afraid that I'm going to have a heart attack or go into like anaphylactic shock for no reason. I am not allergic to anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's very irrational, but my brain tells me that it's very, very real. Embracing obsession first started because kind of the only way out of this is to let these thoughts sit in your brain and essentially not panic over them and not worry about them. And I'm generalizing a lot, but
yeah,
it essentially allowed me the space to think about the thoughts that I have that worry me without actually worrying about them. Okay. So, and a lot of it was coming onto the canvas or the paper. And at the same time, the more I did this, the more I learned about other people who experience OCD and how common it is. And it just, all of it together kind of made me feel less weird and alone and an outsider in certain aspects.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's so interesting. I feel like these things aren't talked about enough. I think people a lot of times use the word without really knowing what it means, or,
definitely
use it for small things, but it seems like, a lot of people that have it, it's all the time. It's not exaggerated. Like, this is your life. Right. So I love that you were able to find something that kind of helps you with that and can also create something beautiful in the process of all the, struggles you deal with.
Thank you. Yeah. It's always a continuing journey, but it's funny, like the more that I talked about it and my own personal experiences, the more I've found people have sort of messaged me and been like, I experienced these same things. Like a friend of mine ended up going into therapy and also being diagnosed. And it just kind of created this sort of a community, but just this space where people could find things out about themselves, which is just amazing in my opinion.
Of course.
Yeah.
And especially doing that through art too. Like, the more you're navigating this on your own, the more you can share about it and the more other people might resonate with it and are learning along the way too.
Yeah, of course.
So what are your current projects that you're working on? Are you working like in a series? Sometimes I know you do series and things like that. What are you working on now?
Slowly but surely. I have 3 jobs outside of this. So it's time. Yeah.
Living on Long Island,
Yeah, exactly. Long Island is, it can be beautiful, but it is definitely expensive. I have to schedule myself. So my ultimate goal this year, I kind of think in years, I do plan on releasing a collection probably this fall. And this one, I started experimenting with a lot multi-medium type things, not just oil paint. I've been letting myself experiment because I tend to be a bit of a perfectionist and I overthink myself into saying like, well, I don't know how to do that, or, second guess yourself like most artists do, or most people do. And I've just had these really amazing painting sessions lately that I think I'm definitely going to have something come out in the fall. And I'm working on being in a couple more art shows for the collections I do have this summer. So stay tuned.
Cool. I can't wait to see.
You guys know I love to give you all the free tips and business advice so your business can survive and thrive. And to keep that going, I've created a Patreon account where you can become a supporter and get exclusive content, one-on-one business advice, and ask me all the things. So if you'd like to help keep this thing going, go to patreon.com/design or DIY. Thanks so much.
I love your work because it's so expressive. Like you really do feel the emotion that you're kind of putting behind it, which is so enjoyable. So
Thank you.
didn't you do your first, was that your first market this year that you'd posted about, or is that just like the first one since COVID or?
No, yeah. So that was the first one since COVID. I had done a bunch of markets when I was still doing landscape painting back in like 2015 to like 2017. Cool. And then I sort of took a hiatus and focused on my website, my social media page, which, as you can see, it unfortunately got hacked this past November. So I had to start from scratch again.
Oh my gosh. I'm so nervous that's going to happen to me. Like,
it's
getting crazy.
Yeah, I could, that's a discussion for a different day, but I would be weary of linking Instagram to your Facebook is my warning to small business owners. But yeah, so that was the first one probably since COVID. I had really put a lot more thought into my website and to social media and photographing my work instead of being in person, mainly because there were wineries and places, but there weren't a lot of outdoor markets that I felt kind of fit my work. But recently the community on Long Island has started growing like wonderfully, especially with the poetry that I write. It's just becoming a really, really nice space. There's essentially an art community business called Colored Coloreds on the island. And they're extremely welcoming, and they just started basically taking over in the best way possible on celebrating really young upcoming artists. And it's only getting better, and they essentially span the island. It's really great.
Oh, I love that. And when I was there too, I was actually struggling with that because I think where I was located was right in between these two great art communities. So I was like kind of near the North Fork, but not in the North Fork. Mm-hmm. And then there's like Patchogue and things. So for me, it was really hard to find that. And I was definitely lacking that. But I really love to hear that it is like happening now and things are starting to, because I know there's so many creative people there.
So many.
Yeah. And I love that they're kind of banding together now and creating something. So important to have that community.
Definitely. And it just, whenever I go to the poetry events, like it's always such a nice reminder of like, I've always been someone that like kind of stands back and listens and I'm like, you can go up there, but it sort of reminds me that I can like learn and also take up my own space at the same time. And that's okay because I struggle with that a lot. So it's just been wonderful. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. I want to get into more about your poetry too. So I love you've been doing videos of you in the process of your art making and then having these poetry overlays. I love listening to those. I am the type of person that has a lot going up in my head, but I don't know how to put it to words sometimes. So tell me about how that kind of started, like with your poetry.
I have been keeping journals and writing poems probably since I was about 12. It's just been, I don't know how or when it started. There was never that defining moment. I've just always been a writer. My mom makes fun of me because I, instead of like talking to her about something, I would write my parents letters and like slip them under the door if I was like upset, or if one of them was that I wanted a sandbox in the backyard. So I asked for a sandbox. Yeah, it's a 7-year-old thing.
That's cute.
But yeah, so I've just always written. I have journals upon journals, and poetry just always sort of came naturally. And the older I got, the more I discovered YouTube and people were performing spoken word. And I luckily had a wonderful high school English teacher that started a poetry slam my senior year of high school, and she encouraged me to write more and speak more because I had never performed up until then. And it's just been something that's always been happening, but like I never really shared it because writing is probably, it feels more personal than my paintings somehow.
Yeah, I can see that.
I definitely talk about bigger concepts, relationships. I get much more personal with my words, but like I said, like sometimes I'll jot down, I'll write things while I'm painting. Some of these things end up becoming poems. It kind of all starts to get integrated. And that's kind of why I started introducing the poetry with Embracing Obsession, because I don't think I can actually separate the two from who I am as an artist. I think if I'm going to fully embrace being an artist, I have to do both at the same time.
That's amazing. Love that.
Thanks.
That's really cool. So when you first started like performing and stuff, were you ever worried about kind of like being judged, or what was your going through your mind like as you first started kind of performing these?
Oh, being judged, yes. So one of the first poetry slams I did, it was on the island. It was right before the pandemic. I don't think I've put this one on my Instagram yet. It was about dealing with being overweight most of my life. And that one, I was just like, am I really going to do this? Am I going to put this out there? But as soon as I was done with that poem, other women came up to me and was like, that's exactly how I feel. You said everything that I've always been thinking. And it was just like immediate recognition of I feel the same way. And I'm like, how could I not say that if other people are already thinking it and resonate with it?
Yeah, and it could help people. That's super powerful.
That's my hope.
Yeah, when you are on the topic of mental health, I feel like most people have just really started to scratch the surface of being upfront and honest about their feelings and how society has made everyone feel, especially women. And it's really amazing what social media has kind of done too for us. We have a platform where
Definitely.
we can speak our truths and have people listen and connect. And, the community for that is just amazing. And it's really cool how you've taken these two worlds and collided them. And I think that's the whole thing behind art in general. It's like super powerful. It has the ability to connect all these kinds of people together.
It's wild. And I was unsure about combining the two, but I think so far it works.
Yeah. And that's like your process.
Essentially.
Yeah, that's how you operate kind of. So, why not share that,
But yeah, social media has been extremely powerful in regards to mental health and people getting help and realizing that they can get help. It's one of the better things about social media.
Yeah, that's true. And I hate to say it, but on TikTok too, I've learned so much about myself like the past like 2 years. It's so insane. And there are people that can definitely self-diagnose and misdiagnose themselves, I think, with that. But it's important to do your own research and talk to your doctor. But for me, one of the things I learned first was that I don't have the ability to see imagery in my head, and that the majority of the population can.
Oh my God, are you one of those people?
Yes. And I didn't even know we existed. I didn't know other people could do something that I couldn't. So it's like, it was literally mind blowing. I found out at 28. I'm 29 now. So my whole life I've been living just like a lie, basically.
So that is insane to me. So do you see words?
No, I see blackness. Black. There's nothing in my head. Like I have memories, so I can recall details. So I can remember, okay, I remember this person had blonde hair, but I can't see that. It's really hard to explain. But
that is, because I'm like, how do you not just picture someone with blonde hair?
No, and I didn't even know people could do that. Actually, a friend of mine from college, she was in my art classes, posted about it on Facebook. Power of social media. I saw it and I was like, hold on, people can do that? And I'm like, I was like, my mind, I felt like I was in a dream for like 3 days. I was like, what lives have I been living? Like, it's just crazy. Because then when it comes to my art, I always struggled in college. I felt like I was like the worst art student in the class. Like I can talk about art all day long. I can critique other people's work with like the same kind of mindset that my teachers were using. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but I really struggled with creating art in a
Mm-hmm.
sense. Like I think that's why graphic design works so well for me, because
Mm.
I get a starting point and then I can use my creativity. But to just sit there and come up with a concept and a design and, you know, a painting from the top of my head when I have no imagery to go off of it was really hard. And now it kind of makes sense.
That makes so much sense.
Oh,
Yeah. At that point you think, how does anybody just create anything?
yeah.
You're sitting
And
there going, you just thought of this?
yeah. And I'm like, and of course, like they do make you use reference material, which that was super helpful when I learned how to actually interpret what I was physically seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like, you know, I'm starting below everyone because they have this visual memory
Mm-hmm.
where, so another thing too with art, I freehanded everything. Like I never
Oh,
traced, I never did projections. I could never do that very well. I can freehand. So it's memory, but it's not the visual aspect. So people are
so
always like,
it's
how are you an artist? And I'm like, well, I can remember like the way a flower looks, like the edges. I can remember that it's curved, but I cannot see it, if that makes sense.
that is wild. I'm so glad you brought this up because that is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's almost like muscle memory. Your
Yeah.
hands remember.
Yeah. Or just like like I have really good memory, but I also am the type of person that always takes a bunch of photos, and everyone used to make fun of me for that. And now I'm like, well, that's why I take photos, because I can't remember the imagery,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so I do a lot of times draw from like pictures that I've taken and things like that, because that's the only way. So
No, it makes
yeah.
sense.
So if it wasn't for social media and TikTok, I would not know that about myself to this day.
Mhm.
So it's kind of crazy. Uh, it's complicated to explain to people that don't have that. It's like wild. And I'm also like, should I have got this? Is probably why I sucked in school. Like I was so bad at like test taking, but I was super smart and I finished all my stuff early. I just, for testing, I could never remember anything. And now
Mm.
I'm like, people can remember words and stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like now I'm like, I was gypped or something.
You just had to learn a different way.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly like I would have still lived my life the same way. Like if had I not known this, you know, you just kind of
Hmm.
find a different way to do art and be creative, basically.
Yeah.
So anyway, um, from your artwork, what's your hope that people gain from experiencing your poetry and your paintings?
I I basically want people to feel how I feel when I see another person's work. That
Mhm.
really resonates with me. So there are some poetry lines where I just will listen to it on repeat because I'm like, that's just like so perfect.
Yeah.
It resonates so much. I'd love for people to see and experience that part of themselves that they know is there, but they can't explain, or even maybe they don't even focus on, or they don't even know it's there, which sounds really specific, but art can and historically has always touched people in ways that is inexplicable. And with the mental health aspect, I just want people to know that they're seen and not alone, and also that color and texture and rhythm are just as beautiful alone. Even if it doesn't resonate with you, there's still beauty in the paint and the canvas aside from whatever you actually feel. So even
Yeah.
if you look at it and you don't spiritually or soulfully resonate with it, you can still, everyone can appreciate something that they see, even if it doesn't make sense to them. My uncle, who has passed, the last thing he said to me was, I don't understand your art, but I love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So he tried so hard. He wanted to understand so hard. And he was just like, I love it, but I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting, like artists, the type of art they gravitate towards, like the art I like from other artists is nothing like what I create.
Exactly.
And I think that's what makes it special, is that like, you're like, wow, your mind is so interesting, right? Like the way you create that is so unique. So that's really cool.
Definitely. Yeah. I've been gravitating towards ceramicists. They're just wild. They just, I don't know how people work in 3D.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I'm the same way about like sculpture and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you do that? I don't work like that. Cool. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up, but thank you so much for coming on. I loved our conversation today. I hope we can talk about it more too in the future, on both sides and our different experiences. So where can people find you now that you're back on Instagram?
So I am first, thank you so much for having me on here. I'm so grateful for this conversation. It's been so fun. Awesome. My Instagram is embracingobsession_ by Dani, Dani. And I do have a TikTok. I'm going to try to get into that TikTok game a little bit more. It's just hard. Embracing Obsession. And then my website is embracingobsession.com. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. And I hope to talk to you soon.